Hello. We're in the face cam scene now.
Use like one of those sleeping blindfolds that you put on that have like the eyelashes on it and kind of like.
No.
I really think you should, you know, I think it's pretty appropriate. You can just kind of have that on. And it's very appropriate since you're late to stream. It's all right, Chad. I'm calling him out on it.
Yeah, I was asleep. Thought I'd have a little bit of a nap before the stream. You know, try and do something a bit responsible. Get a bit of
Nap
before the stream, so I'd feel
Christ
refreshed.
almighty.
And yeah,
Refreshed.
Woke up like 5 minutes ago.
Let me ask the chat: does Agens look or feel refreshed? Can we do a poll? Like, look at his eyes. Look at that fucking face. Hey, honestly, I'm gonna throw this out here right now. I want you to take a look at our sub count right now. We are at 7.94 subscribers, right? I'm just saying, perhaps this stream or maybe next stream, can we make it to 8K, chat? I think we can, but you know what? Moving right past 8K, and let's talk about 10,000 subscribers, okay? I think you and I and the rest of us can all agree that 10K is a pretty substantial and significant milestone for the channel, yeah? I think that we can do something. If we reach that goal, Agens can do something as a reward, to give you guys as a trophy. What do you think about Agens shaving that beard?
Yeah, we're not doing that. Not
Why
at 10K.
not? Why the hell not?
Why not? Because I want to shave.
Look, don't you wanna go back to your old school like Mongrel 1 days? Like I saw, like, guys, you may not know, like, this is on like his personal YouTube channel. You may be able to find this if you dig deep enough. But hey, look. I've seen Agens as, like, you know, a young man, almost baby face, and like he looks great. Let me just tell you. And I'm saying, if we get to 10K, I'll fucking go over to Upside Down Futureland and I'll shave that thing off myself.
I think they'd rather a face reveal from Dobbss than me shaving mine.
Why do you want a face reveal? Like, I'm really not that important. Like, there's no, you'll get nothing out of that.
I don't think we need a poll. I think we just need to do it, really. I'm pretty confident.
Putting up my camera is a lot more
audience wants
than I'm willing to. It's a lot more effort than I'm willing to do. But whatever.
More effort than shaving my beard off.
What do you mean? All you need to do is just take a fucking straight razor in 10 minutes and you're fucking gone, man.
Yeah, but it takes ages to grow a beard.
Sing a sea shanty at 8K? Honestly, I'll be fine with that.
Sea shanty.
Why wasn't Dobbs' video suggestion in the poll? The machinima? Look, hey, listen. As long... I personally thought that it would be funny for Agens to just point and laugh at and make fun of it, and Agens fragrantly disregarded the suggestion, and he said he just didn't want him to do it because it'll provide no substance and no actual tangible, you know, content. Where if we were to all just point and laugh at a funny machinima at a stupidly organized piracy hit, scripted piracy event. What do you think about that, Agens?
Pretty much. I don't really want to be sitting there bashing on somebody's machinima, really. I think I do enough bashing on this channel of a lot of stars and content.
You know what? How about this? At 10K, I'll shave my beard.
Yeah, but how's
Do that.
anybody gonna know, Dobbs?
Exactly.
I'd say that you'd done it and nobody would know.
Exactly.
That's why you need to do the face reveal. That people would know.
What if I were to take a picture of Chris Roberts and then we throw that up on stream as an overlay, and then that'll be the equivalent.
Just make a Chris Roberts, is it like puppet cutout or something like that?
Other than me. A puppet cutout, yeah, why not? Life-sized cardboard cutout. I like it.
Alright. I'm still waking up. I'm still pretty tired. Let's get this party started though. So the first thing that we're going to be reacting to today comes from Spectrum. And what I'll do first is I'll grab the link for you all.
But Agens!
What?
Before we get to that, we have a question in stream chat, which I think that would be nice to answer. We have a question from Mark Smitty, who asks, quote, "You guys pirated Jack Axon on his birthday, and he didn't have any cargo on him. Lol. Just curious, what are the rules of engagement in those types of situations?"
You'd ask the crew that actually did the hit. I wasn't present. At the end of the day, they wanted to do the hit on his birthday, so it's not our fault that Jack wasn't running cargo then. Pretty much,
well,
it was all about getting the hit.
Am I at liberty to discuss other things that may have happened as a result of the hit? Behind the scenes?
Like what?
No, but I'll basically go into, well, essentially the way it works is, the way we're working towards for our piracy ops in Mongrel Squad is that it's pretty much irrelevant whether or not the ship has an actual prize on board, be it cargo, rock minables, gear, whatever. I can say, especially in the North American time zone in the org, that we'll find any ship in the verse, be it it's hauling cargo on Ariel, it's doing rock mining on Daymar, or if it's somewhere on Hearst and taking fucking screenshots for Reddit, we'll fucking find it and we'll get on board and we'll kill people just for. And the reason why we're doing this is because of the training value that we need of doing the entire boarding action and getting it all and doing the entire sequence. It's not for the sake of money, it's not for the sake of reputation or anything. We're pretty much doing it in preparation to 318, because as soon as 318 hits, we're going to be doing exactly that. Only now that time, we'll actually be able to take the cargo outside and sell it. So right now, we're just finding any ship in the verse and just boarding it for that reason. It doesn't matter if they have a prize or not.
Alright, we're going to move on to the first bit of content though, so we're not going to take any more questions. Because I actually want to get this stuff done. I know that you will have lots of questions about some of the stuff that we do, but I want to focus on this.
He's tired. He wants to go back to bed, guys, so keep the questions down, man. Jesus. This man's got a family.
Alright, here we go. So, apparently, I need to actually click on send as opposed to pressing enter. There's the link there for the Spectrum post. I'm going to move us across to this scene here. Alright. First bit of content that we're reacting to is a Spectrum post. Concept solution for self-destruct during soft death 2-stage system.
Oh, I can see Mark Abent. Oh.
Alright. Music is
Mark.
still too loud. Alright, I'm just gonna turn it off then. It just makes it easier.
Mark, please. Mark,
Alright.
if you're watching this, Mark, please. Does anybody know Mark? You need to get in touch with Mark and just tell him I said please.
So, Owen M. Fletcher has a solution for self-destruct during soft death. In reading through, actually, wait, do we have the narrator available for this? Or am I gonna have to read this out?
Yeah. Let me check. You want me to bring up the narrator?
Yeah. People enjoyed the last time the narrator read the post.
Alright, hold on a second. Let me find him.
Okay, so we have a post from Erwin M. Fletcher with a title that says, quote, Concept Solution for the Self-Destruct During Soft Death Two-Stage System. He continues, in reading through a post in Ask the Dev section in which Mark Abent answered questions and then asked some others in return, I understood an issue that stemmed from Mark's question found here. And as an added bonus, I'm going to open up the question, the screenshot, so we can read Mark Abent's post together. Mark Abent says, quote, Curious to know what the community thinks of self-destruct and soft death. Right now, if you self-destruct prior to soft death, then soft death, then the self-destruct will go off, resulting in the vehicle going into regular death. You lose control over the self-destruct item after self-death, so you won't be able to set it off after the vehicle is in soft destroy state. On one hand, we can cancel self-destruct after self-death, thus preventing the targeted vehicle from sabotaging the attacker's spoils. On the other hand, if you invoke it prior to soft death, you one-up the attacker, assuming they wanted you in the soft damage state. I ponder how split people will be depending on the playstyle. PvP versus PvE. Moving back into the Spectrum post at hand, Mr. Irwin continues. My concept is a two-stage self-destruction system. Note, this is just an interim system, and Abent did ask for suggestions. So, Stage 1 self-destruct. If the owner of the ship sets the self-destruct, they have 60 seconds until the ship explodes, resulting in hard death. Stage 2 self-destruct. This is triggered if pirates are able to disable or soft-kill the ship while a Stage 1 self-destruct is active. The timer extends to 300 seconds or 5 minutes. Yes, I understand how unrealistic this is to extend the counter this way, but it is for gameplay purposes. If it helps anyone square the concept in their minds, consider it a failsafe to allow extra time for ship occupants to open and close doors and make their way to the escape pods. What this does is now give the attacking group time to enter the ship, fight a boarding action, and if successful, make their way to the cockpit to disable self-destruct. If they are unsuccessful, boom, hard death occurs. Players cannot start a self-destruct timer once the ship is in soft death. This person struggled with grammar, clearly. But the player can start self-destruct while the ship is disabled. The self-destruct time will default at 300 seconds. I understand people have mixed feelings about self-destruct system, and I suspect CIG will implement changes down the line to prevent players from abusing the system. However, CIG decided that it is going to be, regardless of whether we like it or not, part of the game. The issue presented by Mark Governed would seem to be helpful with a system such as this. Note, I feel I need to add this again. When we get full physicalized components, this will change. This is just a stopgap suggestion for the temporary solution of soft death that CIG is implementing. Interested in constructive feedback?
Thank you, narrator.
Yeah, soft death. Diff. There's, like, I kind of get what old mate's trying to get at here. Essentially trying to set up the scenario where pirates are more encouraged to conduct the boarding action, as opposed to what we're more than likely going to see if the current iteration of soft death maintains its current trajectory, where self-destruct is something that will still persist after you soft death a ship. So
yeah, I mean,
if you
this is our entire. Go ahead. Sorry, I was just.
Yeah, I was going to explain that. If you initiate self-destruct before soft death and then soft death happens, it's like, this is what CIG has told us, it will continue on afterwards, and there's no way to stop it.
And that's the problem, agents. It's the fucking problem. Don't you think it's a problem?
Well, it will be, but I don't think this solution's really going to help. Like,
what do you mean?
Well, you know, they initiate self-destruct still. You got 5 minutes. You still got to wait for the ship to slow down and come to a stop. You then got to get on board that ship, take care of the crew, and then you've got to unload that ship and put it all onto your own. And potentially you're doing this under fire from, you know, any reinforcements that are trying to show up. Like, this isn't really addressing the crux of the problem where you're going to end up with a ship exploding. It's just delaying the inevitable. Like, if you don't stop self-destruct, it doesn't matter how long you delay it for, it's still going to go off. So you just be sitting there waiting for the ship to slow down, to come to a stop. That could take anywhere up to, you know, like, well, most ships slow down at 1 minute.
In our experience, it could be like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, the Caterpillar moving at max speed, that's 890 something meters a second. And a ship slows down 1 meter per second.
Oh god.
15 something, 16 minutes.
I can't.
You're right, Dobbs.
Oh wow. Sorry, I was just thinking about the implication of that. Oh, the length of time, chat. Oh,
so it's
how
like,
many times it was had to.
Even if they added this 5 minute thing, it doesn't help. Like, you'd just be waiting 5 minutes for this thing to, you know, slow down and to explode while it's still moving. You wouldn't even get on board. Yeah, I guess old mate's trying to, you know, provide some sort of solution, but this is, you know, an unnecessary stopgap, and honestly, it's just, this is born out of ignorance to current mechanics in the game and how things actually work.
Then what do you suggest, agents?
Well, I have put forth some suggestions in some other chats, stuff that can't really be. Well, I can talk about what I suggested, but I can't really fucking say if it's going to result in anything or not. So my thoughts on this is that if soft death happens with a ship with self-destruct that's on, just turn the bloody self-destruct off. That's it. Just turn
On
it
soft
off.
death?
Yep. It's just for ease of like implementation, just turn it off. Like the whole point, the reason why they put soft death in was to encourage boarding actions, and if they maintain that self-destruct can, you know, for whatever reason stay on after a ship soft deaths, you're just gonna sit there and wait. You'll soft death the ship and you'll just wait. And you'll wait to see if it explodes. Now, it's no secret that there are quite a lot of players out there who are more than willing to, you know, like leverage whatever means that they can to try and, you know, give us a big fuck you. And I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is just making it so easy for them to do that. You know, like we put a
On the
whole
other
bunch of
hand,
time and
too,
effort in to be playing the game, and then you got these clowns who just go, I don't want to prepare, I don't want to engage in this because I want to, you know, it's nearly effectively be a fucking NPC, where they're just flying from one point to another doing the same thing over and over again. And how dare these people, you know, play the game in a way that he was advertised and sold to them. And you know, fuck you guys, I'll just backspace and, you know, make my ship explode. It's like,
yeah,
alright, well, I
and
don't
it's
mind
also,
people having that as long as we can
yeah,
stop it, and we can't.
and it also, like on the other side of it too, self-destruct shouldn't be so incredibly easy to shut off either, because it's like, you know, we have to face the reality that self-destruct is in the game, and it's going to be used offensively, right? So, you know, I've seen a lot of people use suggestions like distortion and EMP, or just straight up distortion weapons, direct distortion weapons should disable self-destruct. And it's like, sure, while you can do that, it then gets to a point where it's a little bit too easy, and then it's more imbalanced in favor of the attackers. Or all you need to do is just grab a fucking Scorpius with all distortion, pump some damage into that rear shield, and as soon as that rear shield goes down, the ship goes fucking dark, and then self-destruct is completely mitigated, right? So there has to be like a median way to balance it to where it's still there, it's still a threat, but it's not balanced in favor of one side or the other. Right now it's balanced in favor of the defender, where they could just push the button and there's nothing that can be done to stop it. So like literally the way to counter it, or the way to balance it, is to just make sure that we can disable it, right? Either by doing soft death, or by making sure that we can have access to the chair, by getting on the ship and getting on the chair and turning it off. And you could do that if you want. If you want to increase the self-destruct timers, fine. If you want to do some other stuff that changes soft death a little bit, fine. But I think distortion, while it'll be great for us, and you might not see us complaining, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a little bit too imbalanced in favor of the pirates, and there needs to be more tools and more functionality added. But hey, I won't complain if distortion cancels it. So I'm just gonna say that right now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and like we don't really want to be implementing complicated stopgap measures for future functionality, which is why it's, in my opinion, it's just better if soft death happens on a ship that has self-destruct on it, just shut the self-destruct off. You know, I saw a comment, somebody said soft death was for salvaging. No, it's not. It's not for salvaging at all. You don't need to soft death a ship to salvage it. You just need its shields
Yeah,
off.
like, and the wrecks will persist. Like wrecks from hard killed ships will persist. So soft death is not at all for salvage. because they've mentioned for salvage in the past that after the ship explodes, the wreckage will stay there in pieces that you can salvage for RMC. Like, that is undisputed. So the notion that soft death is only there for salvage is silly.
Yeah, my main point whenever it comes to this specific scenario is that it gets balanced in a way so that there's a chance that the pirates have to be able to board the ship and still, like, achieve their goal, as opposed to what could happen out of all of this, where combat logging gets addressed, and to the point where people are like, well, if I combat log, it just makes it easy for the pirates to win 100%. So on sight of seeing pirates, I'm just going to initiate self-destruct straight away. For us, we would be sitting there going, well, all right, we'll start engaging. There's no external, indicators on what happens with self-destruct. So we would be going into the situation blind. And if we disable a ship, using distortion damage, we won't know that the self-destruct's on. So we'll still be going through the motions of what we want to, try and achieve. Ship still has a chance to explode then. So my suggestion on that particular scenario is just pause the self-destruct so that the pirates have to, work to maintain the ship being shut down during that time. And if you
But Mom, I can't pause it. It's multiplayer.
And if you soft death it, just stop it completely, because a huge argument for why self-destruct should be staying in the game is because people like get stuck and they're like, oh, I need to self-destruct my ship because I'm stuck in the game because of bugs. Well, it's like, well, if you're getting EMP'd or somebody soft deaths your ship, you're not really like in a position where you're bugged out that requires you to destroy the ship. You're being attacked and you're supposed to be engaging in gameplay, regardless if you like it or not. That's the intent behind the what's happening, is that there's gameplay happening and you're expected to engage in it. Whether you want to or not, that's up to you. If you want to fucking cheese out of it, then fine. But the other party who is intent on engaging that gameplay shouldn't be getting denied that, because CIG can't be bothered to fully follow through with thinking through the design for new things that they're implementing. So for this particular scenario, just allow us to be able to shut off the self-destruct, either by soft-deathing the ship or soft-killing it, or pausing it with distortion weapons, and let us get on board to shut it off ourselves. All right. So yeah, like this won't fix the problem at all. Like, extending it to 5 minutes just won't help. The ship won't even, like, if a ship's moving at max speed, most of the targets that we go after, it'll still be moving when it explodes. Let's have a look at the feedback. Let's look at top voted first.
Comments time. By the way, like, the fucking ratio here, there's only 6 upvotes. Ain't that something? I'm surprised that this didn't get in more traction.
When this 24th, that was like a week ago.
Yeah,
wasn't
right?
Not long afterwards though that was it the Galaxy debacle started. People were kind of complaining.
Oh god, the Galaxy, the concept backup, oh, the modularity. Can you believe it, chat?
Alan Ford. To be honest, I'm kind of expecting the ability to disable self-destruct on tier 0. However, when we talk of soft death, I'm also hoping that longer term goal is for that to be much more organic and depending on severity of damage, maybe in fully reversible or at least back to basic flight capacity by field repairs. That's CIG's intent. like, ship components are supposed to be physicalized on all ships. And ironically, it actually ties into one of the reasons why I think that we don't have all those bigger ships yet. Because a lot of ships don't have their components physicalized. It's still tied to a global health pool for that particular ship. So what CIG's done with Soft Death is created specific, kind of like created a health pool within a health pool where if you're hitting specific parts of a ship, you can initiate a soft death on a ship without actually destroying it completely and taking the global health pool of that ship all the way down to 0. But yeah, it's like, it does feel like soft death was kind of just tacked on at the last moment. Like, I'm just gonna come out and say that one. Like, it was just tacked on in there. Like, there are ways of being able to slow ships down. Some ships that do have physicalized components, like the MSR is a really good example of this. You can physically damage components on the MSR and it will cause problems for the ship. You go into the components room, pull out a railgun, shoot the quantum drive, you can't quantum travel anywhere anymore. And all those components are located in one room in a specific spot. And there's specific missiles that may have an explosive radius large enough that can actually reach those components and damage them enough that you can't actually use them. In fact, one of our videos recently, I believe it was Death Metal, an MSR that should be able to easily outrun us got baited into fighting back, and it's how we actually disable their shields without having enough EMPs there. So,
as well as the most recent video, Agents. Think about that. I don't even think you even watched that video yet, have you, Agents?
Probably not. I don't think I've watched that latest one.
He doesn't even watch it, man. He doesn't even fucking watch it.
Hey, it's got 10,000 views on it. I don't need to watch it. But, yeah, like, it's cool that CIG put it in there. I was still surprised when Mark Abent, asked that question. I believe, like, I know that I responded to this, and last time I checked, like, the response that I gave had like 90 plus upvotes on it, and it was to the effect
yeah,
of,
because
like,
it was based.
Yeah, it's kind of like, no shit. You guys, like, literally just added this for the sake of, encouraging a certain type of gameplay. If you, bloody allow the ship to continue with its self-destruct cycle, you're pretty much undoing all the work that you guys just did.
Oh god, does one of the mongrels watching? Can you find that post? I want to see what the ratio is at now. Put it in Orcoms, please. I want to see it. And I really hope Mark Abent looks at that and saw the ratio and was like, "Damn, I think I know how everyone feels, right, Agents?"
Sorry, I was just reading something in chat.
Now whatever. I'm just hopiuming.
I'm not gonna. I could go to my notifications, but it'll also show some Evo stuff, so I'm not gonna do that.
What stuff? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Avocado stuff.
What? What's that?
It's got to do with cool stuff and things that are experimental.
Oh wow, one of the prospects did it. Yeah, see, wow, it's amazing that one of the prospects was able to do this and not one of the mongrels. Wow, shows how competent some of the mongrels in this org are. Wow, incredible stuff.
Probably busy doing other stuff.
Probably.
All right. Make sure I'm on the right screen here when this opens. And should load the page.
Oh yes, you are, Jack.
92. It's up to 92 now.
Oh, look at that ratio. Yes.
Yeah. If you can't stop self-destruct after the ship enters soft death, and you disincentivize shipboardings. When soft death happens, negating the entire point of adding it in the first place. And it's up to 93. Casual, what the fuck? I recognize that profile picture. Saying that it was a prospect task, yeah. Along with box moving, they also have to post links.
Links. They have to post links to boxes. Google image links. I want to see box. See box.
My point, like, I'm not even saying remove self-destruct completely. I'm just saying give us the ability to stop it. You know, we don't need to, you know, just completely remove self-destruct. We just need the ability to stop it. Just enough there to make, you know, the player that's on the receiving end of a piracy attack, enough to make them feel empowered, but also give the pirates the ability that if they want to push for that, you know, go for the 100%, that they're not just going to get shat on because there's no counterplay. There's, you know, like, I can tell you now, if there's no feeling that there's a counterplay available, most of the time players aren't interested in engaging in that gameplay. Like, we see it a lot with, you know, piracy hits that we do where people are like, you know, Alt F4 and out. It's like their counterplay for that doesn't exist because they don't want to prepare. But they also don't need to because combat logging can actually save their ship. Although CIG is actively working on that, they're just not talking about it. But yeah, I would play this video, but the YouTube player in fucking Spectrum is trash. Because Turbulent updated it, and for whatever reason, it stays in this ratio unless we open it up in YouTube. And this is actually a very short one. Pretty much, this was of a hit where the Raider team's EMPs were all in position to burst the target down, and the target just initiated self-destruct and noped out of the server. There was nothing we could do about it. That's, you know, one of the scenarios that we deal with a lot. Yeah. I don't think we need to bash on this particular topic any longer. Like, we talked about it a lot last week as well.
Oh, it can never stop.
It's pretty much getting hammered a lot in other places. Where discussions aren't widely seen. I'm going to come back over to this face cam over here and get the next piece of content ready to go. So yeah, that was a suggestion, a concept solution for self-destruct during a soft death or 2-stage system, which in my opinion just won't work because of the way that things currently work. Nice try, but probably take it back to the drawing board. Alright, Doobs.
Sync tube, please. Yes, indeed. Yes.
Alright. Should be in all comms. In there, Dobbs. Why no face cam for Dobbs? Now Dobbs doesn't want to show his face.
It's not that I don't. I'm just too lazy to go through the effort of setting up my camera. That's basically, that's pretty much the main reason. He doesn't want to show his face. Like,
he says that he's too lazy to, but he really doesn't want to show his face.
No, Mars Bar's got it right. I really don't have a face. I'm just a voice in the ether. I'm actually inside Agens' mind. I'm his conscience.
Dobbs is an IA, and he's also an AI. Okay.
I don't mind being an AI. I think that's pretty cool, right? I mean, that means I'm immortal, right? I guess.
I don't know.
Just don't flip the power switch. That's all I ask. Whatever.
All right, so the next bit of content that we're going to be reacting / ranting to comes from a YouTube personality who kind of kickstarted this entire thing, the entire series chain that we've got going at the moment. It's none other than Morphologist. His video.
Oh god, the name. Wow, is that name taboo around here or something? God.
You alright? You okay, Dobbs? You need some water or something? You got some drink there? Okay.
I mean, I can get a drink. Like, do we want to take a water break before we start this video?
It's alright, I'll just reboot the AI. We're just...
Nah, fucking, I'm getting a drink. I'll be right back. Okay,
well,
here we go.
Whilst you're doing that, Dobbs, I'll post the link to this video in chat. For those who actually want to watch this later, it's not only in the description of the video, but I'm also going to throw it into the chat right now so that you can put it in your watch list, or you can just watch it here. So yeah, I haven't watched this yet, so I'm not 100% sure. Not 100% sure how this is going to go. I did end up watching about half of, was it the last Answer the Call from Salty Mike's channel, where Morphologist, Burks, and Zero State were discussing, was it accountability and the backlog of the ships and, you know, things at the RSI Galaxy and all that sort of stuff.
So many ships in the backlog, none of them will ever be developed. It's gonna take 10 years before any of them ever get in our hands. Oh my god, it's unbelievable, Agens.
We'll have to wait and see. Apparently, like in this video, the guys were saying that Morph was pretty balanced in his point of view. But I am gonna say, like, the reason why I only got halfway through the Answer the Call was that I heard a lot of stuff that it was less about the backlog and more about CIG's communication or lack of, and the stuff, the points that they made. Yeah, the points that they were making in regards to the backlog. There's a lot of there's developer reasons as to why it is what it is, and I'll talk about it later. So, yeah, don't click on the link unless you want to leave this stream right now. But it is there if you want to queue it up later. It's also in the description.
Let's listen to Morphologist.
Morphologist? Alright. Let's get this started.
Unfinished ships so big it might take a combined 35 years of developer time to finish them. Understandably then, with the introduction of yet another large JPEG concept ship, the discussion of this practice has once again come to the forefront amongst Star Citizen backers. When is the backlog of unfinished ships too big? So recently, friend and fellow Star Citizen content creator Salty Mike reached out to me and a couple other content creators to see whether or not we would like to have a discussion with him on his upcoming Sunday podcast on this subject. Link in the description, by the way. I hope you'll join us for the discussion. And that got me thinking more deeply about the issue, specifically whether it is an issue or not. After some looking into it, I found that it probably isn't as bad as some people are making it out to be, but there are still some problems. So let's get into why by starting to look at why the backlog is such an issue. Oh, and if you like this video by the end and you think I deserve it, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, and the bell icon to show your support. So since the beginning of Star Citizen's development, crowdfunding has pretty much entirely been supported by the sale of concept ships. These have been jokingly referred to as JPEG ships, as usually the art is the only thing that's done at the time of the initial sale. So in other words, it's not a ship that you could actually fly in-game when it goes on sale. That's what a concept ship is.
I love my JPEGs.
Yeah, but that's because Star Citizen was based on a Kickstarter, so it was more or less the packages first were about including ships with a game package, and then the small backer base at that time were like, hey, we'd like to also just be able to buy the ships, and CIG went, that's actually a good idea. So
you know what?
They listen to the community.
Let's get a head count in chat. How many JPEGs do we have, guys? Come on, let's be honest here.
I haven't even counted how many I own.
Is it because you don't want to, Agens?
No, I just couldn't be bothered.
Are we the ones to blame for this backlog, Agens?
100%. You specifically, Dobbs. It's mainly because you haven't bought enough. You're not concierge.
Have
you hit?
I'm close.
Have you hit that yet?
I am extremely close. I'm extremely close. I'm on the precipice. Yes.
Hope you all took advantage of the cheap CCUs as well.
Oh yeah, those are great.
All right, let's keep this going. But yeah, like there was a reason why we ended up with concept ship sales, and it was because backers wanted it back then, because they just wanted ships and not entire game packages.
The problem is that these sales don't need to just fund ongoing development with Star Citizen, but it also needs to support 800 plus and growing developers and staff working on the yet unreleased single-player mode Squadron 42, where the majority of CIG's resources are now being funneled. This has resulted in a growing backlog as the team grows in size, which has some speculating that it's become a vicious cycle of needing to release yet more JPEGs to pay for more developers to address the backlog, and so on, with no way to break the cycle due to the financial burden of development outweighing the pipeline's profitability. But
so one of the points that I want to bring up here is that the ships are, they prioritize the ships for Squadron 42, right? So essentially they can build it for Squadron 42 and then just port it across to Star Citizen. So it's not like they're going to be building the ship twice for two separate games. Because this is the insane part.
It's not only the ships too, it's also the gameplay content as well.
Yeah.
Like the vast majority of the gameplay content is made for Squadron 42 first and foremost.
Yeah, and then they just bring it across to Star Citizen. But this is the thing, like that a lot of people don't realize is that there's two games being built in parallel here. And Squadron 42 is the main effort, with Star Citizen being the side piece that is, like CIG, Chris Roberts went, hey, like, and after you finish the campaign, you'll be able to go into this, multiplayer game where you'll be able to do all this stuff, and pretty much, it's a spiritual successor of Freelancer. So, yeah, like, Squadron 42 doesn't get that much attention because they're worried about spoilers and, the story getting out and all this extra shit, getting out like you've seen over the years. If you go looking for it, you can find it. But, yeah, it's, I don't know, it sounds like Morph was just saying there, it's like, the ships are being made in one, this one place, and then they're going to have to essentially be remade again, and that's not quite the case. But yeah, let's keep this going, because there's some points that I do really want to make with regards to this entire thing, and I want to know if Morph makes it first.
We'll get back into that later. The good news in all of this, though, is that in the past 10 years of development, CIG has delivered on 144 of those concept ship promises. But despite that impressive number, they still have quite a lion's share of large ships left to do. So where then does that 35-year number come from? Well, in a recent interview with CIG's head of ship development pipeline, John Crew, he shared that it would take more than a year of work from their current entire ship team just to finish a ship the size of the Polaris.
If I could click my fingers now, put the Polaris into production, that would take out a big chunk of the UK team for maybe 12, 18 months, which means we can't deliver a constant flow of other vehicles in patches. So you could go multiple patches without any vehicle release or any support for other features coming out. So we have to balance that across not just delivering vehicles, but supporting the other teams.
Which is why these ships have been left untouched up until now.
So he says UK team. Yeah, one of the things that I want to make clear here is that there's quite a few different teams that are responsible for building ships. And John Crew really doesn't clarify when he says UK team which team he's talking about. Because there is a team that does do the ships for the persistent universe, and that's their main focus, and then you got teams who work on ships that are mainly for Squadron 42, or they're prioritized for Squadron 42. So it's interesting, because there could be potentially information missing there where he's like, yeah, the team that would normally be doing this for the persistent universe would have to drop everything else that they're doing and work solely on that one ship. Whereas, you know, something that a lot of people haven't really thought of is that you got the ships that CIG has sold to backers, but then you've got all the ships that are still required for Squadron 42 that you can't buy as a backer. Because you've still got all the Vandal ships. And they do intend on having the interiors for some of those Vandal ships as well. You know, they showed the Driller, you know, recently. And I say recently, that was actually a couple of years ago now. They showed that. Yeah, that had to be built out. A lot of the Vandal fighters have been reworked. You know, if you go, oh, what was it? It's one of the Squadron 42 videos that was released a couple of years ago. I think it was like it's a montage of different, you know, snippets of Squadron 42. And two of the ships there, one is of a Cutlass Black that's got like orange neon lines all over it, and another one's like a Mustang that's got I think it was Buccaneer engines on it, and you know, neon orange lines on it too. And they were supposed to like represent, you know, heavily modified pirate ships. People are building that shit too. Like there's ships that CIG hasn't released, you know, to the public eye that are also getting built that a lot of people don't know about.
You know what, Agens? I just want my goddamn Cleaver.
Yeah, that's getting built too. Whether or not we get it is another thing. If we can't buy it, we'll just go into Vandal's. If we can't buy it, we'll just go into Vandal space, find Vandal ships, and steal it from them.
Oh, I want my goddamn Cleaver. Oh my god, it's the best ship in the game.
Yeah, like this is one of those points that hasn't been brought up at all. Like people are, you know, constantly complaining about the backlog of ships that CIG sold. And it's like, well, you know, there's more teams that are working on ships. They're just not working on the ships that are going into backers' hands.
It's from this number then that we can begin to extrapolate through some table napkin math about how long it will take for them to finish that massive backlog. Added up, accounting for new concepts being added, that number comes to around 35 years. A staggering number, but it doesn't exactly tell the whole story, so let me explain.
I think it's pretty apropos.
This number isn't linear time, it's purely an estimate taken on a per ship basis added up together. In other words, it's developer time, not actual time. As some of you pointed out when I posted an image of this on Twitter, CIG often develops ships in parallel. So then how much actual time might this take from today? Again, based off John Crew's own estimated time for the players and comments about the commitment required for a large ship, Polaris-sized ships and up would require an entire year of an entire team with no capability of parallel development. So for
I'm going to pause here and point something out, and this is something that a lot of people don't remember, which is ironic, because CIG are using the ship as a test bed for the upcoming, what was it, capacitor relay system, the Hammerhead. When the Hammerhead was built, it was actually built out of, it was kit bashed together from the work that they had done on the Javelin and Idris. I remember this because it was, you know, like, it was one of the largest ships that had been built after the Starfarer Reclaimer. I think we were getting the Hammerhead after that. And CIG were like, yeah, we built this out, you know, from parts of the Idris and parts of the Javelin, and you'll be able to see the design influence there because they were working on those two ships at the time. And, you know, when they had a team grab parts of those ships to make the Hammerhead. Now, this also leans into one of the reasons why I believe CIG has a backlog of large ships. And as I pointed out, it's ironic because they kind of showed us a demo of the capacitor system being worked on for the Hammerhead, and how they also mention during that is that parts of the Hammerhead had to be rebuilt and restructured. And this is something that some backers have actually pointed out, but it's the reworks that need to be done on these ships when new tech gets introduced, like the capacitor system, where you can have relays set up all over the place, and you can, you know, shut those capacitors off and deny power to certain areas of the ship. Now, here's the thing. If you build out all these new ships, you know, let's take the Galaxy, for example, as the most recent one. CIG just built that out, as is. They could probably do the hospital module. They could definitely do the cargo module without, you know, much effort. In line with the rest of the ship, the only module that they wouldn't be able to really punch out is the refinery one, because there's no standalone refinery gameplay that is tied to ships. It's all tied to stations, and there's probably additional shit that CIG want to do when it comes to player-facing refinery that's controlled completely by the player. Now, they make, you know, if they made the Galaxy now, before they've finished their work on this relay capacitor system that they're working on and prototyping out in the Hammerhead, they then have to go back to the Galaxy later and retrofit it so that all the capacitor components are there, you know, for those relays, so that you can actually shut, you know, power off to certain parts of the ship or reroute power because of damage and all that sort of stuff. Now, they could do that, and you could have your Galaxy straight away, but then it's missing, you know, part of its functionality, and it's just another thing that CIG has to go back over. Or they can wait until the new system that they're, you know, prototyping out and building out is done, and then they just incorporate it into the build from the get-go. So when they, you know, go to pull out that ship, they're going, all right, sweet. All the systems that we want on a big ship are now, you know, implemented. We've, you know, done all the design work for it. We now know what we want to put on a big ship. Let's start building them out. And here's the other part. I mentioned it before about the Hammerhead being kit bashed from parts of the Javelin and Idris, which allowed CIG to speed up the development process for building out the Hammerhead. Can't remember the exact time frame that they gave, but I believe they did it in like 4 months. The Hammerhead got built out in 4 months from memory. Could be more, might actually be less. but it came nowhere near a year. And that's because it was kit bashed from parts of the Idris and Javelin. Now, ship manufacturers follow design philosophies and will use common parts. Everybody keeps complaining about, like the larger ships for the RSI series, essentially just being big wedge triangles. Well, it's probably on purpose so that CIG can then go, all right, let's build out the Polaris. Okay, now let's take parts of the Polaris and we can use that to build the Perseus and the Galaxy. So instead of having to build everything from scratch, they build one of the larger ships from scratch and then use bits and pieces from it to build the next one. And they only have to build, like they may have to do some additional parts, but it's not like, a year's worth of work. Now, a lot of people are going to sit there and go, oh, but, like they haven't even started yet. And it's like, yeah, no shit, because there's a lot of ground-based tech that they haven't even implemented yet. Some of it's not even required for Squadron 42, but it's going to be needed in the persistent universe. And their main focus is Squadron 42. I want to get that out the door. So the teams that they've got working on the persistent universe, which is a live service type product, which means that they end up getting bogged down with not only developing new features for it, but then making sure that the product that they've got pushed out to the back is stable enough for them to use, which means that if something's not working the way that they want, developers have to spend extra time stabilizing it enough that you can use it. If they didn't have to do that, ironically, Star Citizen in and of itself, whilst it pulls people in and gives them something to do while they wait, ironically, it's also creating more work for CIG and thus increases the development time. So, like this whole, I wouldn't say notion, but this idea that, like you got, what is it? The first time frame that Morph came up with, 35 years. It's like, not quite. Like the Idris, a lot of it's done, but they've still got to go back over it. Especially, like as tech improves, as CIG develop new techniques, they have to go back and redo stuff. And this is actually something that CIG has said multiple times over the years. After they did the Reclaimer, they were like, we really don't want to be putting ships into the game unless it's already got its functionality there. Now, they still continue to put ships in the game that don't have its functionality, but they're normally smaller. When they said that, they don't want to put more big ships in. They want to, put Reclaimer-sized ships in there that don't have the gameplay to support it yet. Because it's a lot of fucking work just to put something in there. And, I know some people are like, yeah, but I just want to fly my ship around and, do, like things with that ship. And it's like, okay, cool, but they're going to have to take your ship back and do more work on it to bring it up to the standard that I actually want. Or they could just make you wait longer, which sucks, but they could make you wait longer, work out their development pipeline for the larger ships, get everything laid out so that they're happy with it, and then just crack the ship out in one hit. And the benefit of this is that as each larger ship gets built once they've got all their systems in place, the ones that come later get developed faster, but they also come out with less bugs because all the developers who worked on the previous lot of ships have that time and experience building those ones. So they apply it to the ships that come later in the backlog. It just ends up being one of those situations where it's like, unfortunately, we all just have to suck it up and wait because there's still a lot of functionality that hasn't been built yet. And CIG's communication, like especially in the last couple of years, has been really poor on making this point where it's like, look, still building shit out that we want to put in here. But if you piece all the little bits and pieces together, get all the little bits of snippets of information and you start putting them together, you start seeing this picture. All right, let's keep this going.
For each capital, we need to look at them as a single year of development. Next, chips mostly done from Squadron 42, like the Javelin and Idris, which still need some work to be ready for the PU according to CIG themselves, may be done in like half a year. And then for the rest, I put them together in accordance with the time that they'll take, taking into account that their larger or smaller sizes would likely enable them to be done in parallel or not. So after all of this kind of guesswork, we came to around 23.5 years, accounting for one additional year of development for every year of the backlog's development due to the extremely likely addition of more concepts. I mean, they've introduced more concepts every single year of development. I don't see that changing. However, this number is still probably on the larger side, because we need to take into consideration the fact that the team is likely to double in size over the next couple of years as they have planned, and then the pipeline will also likely become much more efficient, which will enable them to cut this time down to maybe around 7 to 8 years. Again, guys, I'm ballparking here. This isn't set in stone, but something about this number seems to ring true. Because remember that nothing about this table napkin math takes into consideration the 100 plus existing ships they're gonna need to go back and redo to bring them up to gold standard, some of which will take a considerable amount of time due to the nature of their design, like the modular Caterpillar or the massive 890 jump, which still needs its interactable ship systems pending next year's new ship systems rework to make like all the different modules replaceable and interactable and reroutable through engineering. And also, let's not forget that the real picture of capital ship development is also rather unprecedented. Alright, so sorry for the long-winded explanation here. I know that there's going to be a lot of buts and actuallys in the comment section, so I just wanted to at least address some of them as far as I could foresee. So then, the short of it is that with everything, 7 to 8 years is probably on the optimistic side. A kind of best case scenario for current and future concepts. Now, a lot can happen in nearly another decade of development. CIG's current model is unparalleled in the industry, so there's not really anything we can look to and say that, they're at this point going to start losing interest and funding will fall off. But despite this, I don't think hope is lost. One thing that I think needs to be considered is the impact of Squadron 42's release. As previously discussed, right now the ship pipeline is the linchpin of Star Citizen's funding. Despite near all of their resources being poured into Squadron 42 for at least the past 3 to 4 years, the pipeline has continued to support development, from which we can infer means that the pipeline pays for itself several times over. I really don't think people are giving Star Citizen money because of Squadron 42. They've done virtually no advertisement for it. Put another way, if this model didn't work, they would have closed shop already. This means that when Squadron 42 is finally released and actually starts paying for itself in wider sales for those waiting for an actual product, financial burdens for the backlog of unfinished ships will likely be significantly relieved. That translates then into more funding for developers without the need for more concept ships.
Yeah, I don't see that being a thing. Considering that these concept ships are like worth the value of a standalone AAA game, anywhere 2 to 6 times over. Even if they added an extra, like they sold Squadron 42 at a AAA rate, so you're looking at what, $60 US. Ah, Space Dude, thank you very much for the super chat, man. Yeah, the point that I'm trying to make here is that the concept sale of ships, or just the sale of ships in general, because you can buy a Carrack, and that's like $600 US? That's 10 times the value of a AAA game. Buying that Carrack is the equivalent of buying 10 Squadron 42s. And that's a single person buying that ship. So unless, like, you know, you end up like this year in particular, like CIG apparently has made over $100 million in one financial or in 1 year. So unless Squadron 42 expands its, you know, the player base, what, we're at like 4.5 million accounts. I'm just gonna throw a number out there, like, you know, from 4.5 million to like 20 million or more. It's not gonna come close to what they can make from selling ships for the persistent universe. Like, a lot of free-to-play games, yeah, like Macho's got a good point. Like, a lot of free-to-play games make a lot of money through the microtransaction system. You know, people keep saying that CIG won't, you know, they'll continue selling ships for as long as they can to keep the money coming in, and I agree, they will. They'll keep selling ships to keep the money coming in, because they need to, because they do have that backlog of stuff. But I don't know if you guys have noticed, you know, like over the years, CIG has actually been announcing less and less ships. I think it was 2016 was like the peak. And then it's slowly been declining. Every year they announce less and less ships, and they've been focusing more on just pushing ships out the door. Like, I don't see Squadron 42 being the financial support that CIG needs to be able to pay for the backlog of those ships. Like, you know, CIG doesn't need to release more concepts. They could literally just do, you know, ship sales every quarter, kind of like what they're already doing now, and make enough money to be able to keep the lights on and developing and building the stuff.
Is the Kraken out yet? Where's my Kraken?
Soon.
Hello?
Soon.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't agree with what he's saying there. Like, Squadron 42 just won't. It's not even comparable, really, with how much they can make from selling concept ships.
Mark Hamill agents.
However, I wouldn't ever count on them not making more concepts, so I think we can probably kind of guess that they're going to just keep doing this forever. So then, is a course correction really even needed? Perhaps. But now that we're delving into the deepest part of the speculation pool, now more than ever you need to take what I say with a grain of salt. A really big one. I'm not part of CIG, and I can't see their numbers for how much ship sales truly support the entirety of CIG. One thing I am certain of, though, is that they could always pay their developers more. There have been unsubstantiated reports that a lot of these hiccups with the ship pipeline are due to people leaving CIG who are part of the ship team, and talent retention has also rumored to have been a problem due to reports of them paying on the lower end of the industry spectrum. Whether or not this is so, though, as someone who really wants to see the very best game, I'd like to see more money distributed to talent in order to retain and attract the very best developers in the industry. I mean, they're certainly already making the very best looking ships in the industry right now. It's probably not a bad idea to continue to pay them more, because if they don't, that can easily change with some other upcoming titles, even if this comes at the expense of securing some additional private investment. I think the project might actually be better for it. As for this practice of selling JPEGs, and if it should stop. As someone who wants to see Star Citizen succeed, I don't think it's a bad thing to support CIG through concept sales. Just remember that no one company deserves 100% of your trust. Any company can fold overnight and run away with the money, and so I also get why others prefer not to support this practice. Personally, I can't justify it without something to make content on. I mean, content creator. But to someone with, disposable income and the desire to see them succeed, I don't see there being anything wrong with it. Still, I'd prefer for each ship to be an actual ship, not a JPEG, but that's just the gamer in me who wants more and more content. Even if nothing changes though, looking at the insane increase of funding year on year, I don't think CIG has much to worry about in the short term, and so we probably shouldn't worry too much either. But what do you think? Have I done the camp of the White Knight, or do you think that this is a reasonable take? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And don't forget to check out the podcast. If you missed it, it'll probably be on Salty Mike's channel, so you can listen to the whole thing in retrospect. Thanks for watching.
All right.
Thank you, morphologists, for the informative and entertaining video. Claps in chat.
Yeah, like, I think they're being he's being disingenuous with the opening with saying that it's going to take 35 years. That is definitely clickbait to try and pull people in. And then talking about his napkin math based on John Crew saying one ship would take an entire team 1 year. I believe it was a Polaris that they were talking about too. It's possible that it could take that long, but we don't know why. They never say why it would take that long. We know that there's tech missing, that there are systems that are supposed to be added to the game still. And I can tell you now, like, one of the things that CIG tries to do with their ships when they release them into the game is they try to include certain facets of gameplay with them. The Vulture, they were gonna, they had the model for it ready for a lot longer than what people realized, but they weren't going to add it to the game until it had the functionality for salvaging. And it turned out that there was dependencies, that it required before it could actually get pushed out the door into the game. So, you're looking at the situation where even a ship like the Polaris, which really is just a glorified fucking torpedo boat, it would require extra tech that we're just not aware of. You got the release schedule, or the progress tracker, sorry. You got the progress tracker that has everything laid out. For you to see. But the end time doesn't mean that it's finished. It just means that that's the end of the scheduling for that particular component, that work. We don't know if it's finished or not unless it's in our hands. And even then, there's still ships out there that are going to have to go back into the production pipeline, like the Caterpillar, like the Reclaimer, the Carrack as well. Like the Reclaimer and Carrack have drone rooms, and we don't even have drone tech yet. Like, those drones are actually supposed to have a lot of functionality tied to them. And CIG, we don't even know where they're at with drone stuff, but I'm pretty sure it's not far. So, like, the complaints about all these big ships being in backlog, it's like, CIG could spend the time building those ships out, putting them in the game without their functionality, missing a lot of tech, and then they just come back to it later and redo it all. Or they could just build it out all in one hit once they work their shit out. As I pointed out before about the Hammerhead, they had to redo parts of it. The engineering areas, they had to cut back into the walls a bit to be able to fit components because they were physicalizing them, and then they realized, oh shit, like the bloody, I think it was shield generators or power plants, those components wouldn't fit in the spots that they had put them in, so they had to, like, remodel parts of it. You really don't want to be going back and redoing work, because that's extra developer dollars being wasted redoing stuff that you really shouldn't be redoing in the first place. And part of the reason why they were redoing it was because they just built it out fast in the first place to learn what they could. Now they're going back over and going, all right, well, these were the mistakes that we made. Let's fix them for this ship, and in the next one that we build, let's not make those same mistakes again. Like, I can understand and sympathize with a lot of people wanting those ships. You know, like, I have a Polaris, I have a Liberator. You know, I want to be able to get on a Kraken and, you know, fly around and all that good stuff.
Want my cleaver.
There's a whole bunch of functionality missing that we're waiting on. And I'm not willing to sit there and, you know, tell CIG I want my ship now, even if it's missing functionality. Because in my mind, that just seems like a huge fucking waste of time. I will say this though, like CIG's marketing team isn't doing, you know, CIG any favors with the way that they present ships.
But it looks fucking great though, doesn't it?
Well, it's not even about the looks, it's about what they say, you know, like is coming with the ship. And the language that they use and the intent that they give. You know, the Galaxy being the most recent example and why a lot of people were upset was because they were making it out to sound like, you know, modularity is, you know, this new thing. It's like, no, modularity has been intended for fucking ages. But they're making it sound like the RSI Galaxy is, you know, like the ship that's going to get the modularity. And that's a real issue for me. Like, you know, they put it in the small writing, yeah, this ship isn't ready yet. You know, like it may change later. You know, like this is just a concept sale. But then in big bold letters they're like, you know, you sexy bloody, you know, buy this ship. It's got all this cool shit in it. You know, like you can do all this stuff, and it's like, not yet. Can't do it yet because it doesn't exist. You're buying into a concept. This is the intent. This is your intent of what you want to put into this game. It can't do it because it doesn't exist. Well, they're not lying. What they're doing is they're making promises that they probably can't fulfill, but they don't know it yet. And that's what a lot of Star Citizen, you know, like that's pretty much how this entire project started. Was like Chris Roberts just standing there going, I want to make the spiritual successor to fucking Wing Commander. If you guys give me money, I'll make it happen. So, you know, like we're in this scenario here with the, you know, all these ships and that. And the marketing team, you know, wants to make money off this stuff so that the funding can continue the development of the products that they're trying to build. And they speak to the designers, and the designers say, yeah, we want the ship to be able to do all this stuff. This is the intent, you know, this is what we've concepted out. This is what we want it to be able to do. The marketing team just puts their spin on it. Well, that's the problem, Merlin. Like, if CIG followed that principle of don't promise something you don't have yet, Star Citizen wouldn't exist. It started from an idea in a guy's head. That's it.
And he's never been accused of having a small vision, right, Agens?
Yep. Like, a lot of the marketing of, you know, like Star Citizen, Squadron 42, is based on the idea that this guy is going to deliver the product. A lot of people don't understand just how long it takes to build a game, and then you've got Star Citizen, which is like several games in one.
Like, the reality is that a game like this was always going to take this long. And then the problem is that Chris Roberts underestimated that.
That always happens. Like, that always happens when it comes to any project, any development, software development, or anything like that. You'll have your idea of, you know, it's going to be like this. This is the stuff that we want to do. This is how big it's going to be. So you scope it out, and then you realize, you know, like, holy fuck, when you're in there, it's like, we didn't think of, you know, 10 dozen things that we didn't think of, but you don't find out until you start building it. So then you got to make adjustments.
Case in point is going from the iCache to the entity graph and persistent entity streaming.
Yeah, because
like they had their idea with it.
Well, CIG have been learning over the 10 years. Like that's the thing is, like, you may not see it, but when we first got 3.0, you couldn't even go to Crusader, the planet. You had Port Olisar, which was in a static location. You had 3 moons, and then you had Delamar, which is all the way off somewhere else. You didn't have any rest stops. You didn't have mining. You had cargo hauling. You could do some missions. Mainly box delivery. Oh, I didn't even think we had box delivery missions. We just had combat. You had Kovalex. Like, there was fuck all then, and the servers ran like arse. And what was it? You only had I think it was 24? No, 50. Pretty sure it was 50 at that point.
Players at one point, though.
Well, that was a baby PU.
Yeah.
Like, from 3.0 to where we are now, it's huge leaps and bounds. And that didn't come about by accident. That came about from development and learning and implementing new tech. So it's like...
Agens, I miss Levski, don't you?
Yeah, I want fucking Delamar back. But the thing is that, like, people keep saying, you know, like, it should be done by now. And it's like, why? What makes you think that? Because, you know, time does not equal that you get shit done faster. Like, you will learn, but you'll learn a lot of what not to do. Doesn't mean that you learn the right way to do things. And you may encounter problems along the way that you don't know how to deal with. You know, like, there's no YouTube tutorial on how to make Star Citizen. You know, the developers can't just go onto YouTube and go, how do I do persistent entity streaming? And just start looking it up. You know, persistent entity streaming with Lumberyard. And just have a step-by-step tutorial there that tells them exactly how to do it, like you have with, like, Unity and Unreal Engine. You know, a lot of this tech that they're coming up with, it's fucking, you know, like, cutting edge, some of the shit that they're doing. And that means that you've got people who are really smart, trying to solve really hard problems, and they don't know the answers straight away. They have an idea, but they're trying to, you know, like, work it out. And it takes time. And these people have lives outside of this project.
Persistent entity streaming. It's all about server meshing, agents.
What will come first in the PU? The Kraken or the heat death of the universe? We've already got the Kraken in the PU. It's a little model in Cousin Crows. You can go look at it.
I want the Kraken.
Creative name. I like your name. This is actually a bugbear that I have about that as well. Like, I 100% agree. So they have a hell of time releasing a finished ship, fully working as intended, but they build a fancy-ass studio with all that full-size replica shit, helmets, armor, guns, etc. That shit ain't free. Some of the stuff is gifts, but the stage itself yeah, like that wouldn't have been cheap. I look at that and I'm just like, I would prefer the money being put into, you know, more people working on video content for, you know, showing what they're working on, talking to the developers. You know, it really doesn't take that much time and effort to just grab a fucking camera phone, or just grab your phone, turn the camera on, and run around to a developer, you know, and quickly just do, you know, like a quick 5-minute, hey, what are you doing? You know, fucking selfie cam type thing. And then going back to your bosses later, can we actually show this or not? Yes, no, maybe. No, Eduardo, I'm not fucking white knighting here. And they are doing cutting edge shit, like 64-bit precision level, 64-bit precision tech in
sure about that, Agens?
CryEngine. Well, here's the thing, and you know, all this information is already out there. Like, a lot of people who are complaining about this stuff, they're new backers. They're all new backers complaining. A lot of this information, if you go and watch all the YouTube videos that CIG has put out on, you know, their channel, you will see the stuff that they're talking about. Yeah, it's basic stuff now, but when they implemented it, Eduardo, which was like 6 years ago, it was cutting edge then for bloody CryEngine. Because it was a 32-bit precision system. And now they've made it 64-bit, which has enabled them to be able to create the systems that they have now at the scale that they do. Like, they are pushing forward with a lot of new tech, and they don't talk about it. In fact, they've started talking less about it because backers were like, oh, we're not interested in this shit. We just want you guys to push the game out. Show us the new shiny ships. So COG talks about it less. And then the backers sit there and they complain, oh, you know, like, why aren't you guys building this stuff out fast enough? Or, you know, like, where's our ships? All those tech videos that CIG was putting out explaining these, you know, things that they were working on was telling those backers why some of this stuff wasn't in yet, telling them the problems that they were dealing with. Like, you know, this is one of the reasons why a lot of game studios don't show the work that they're doing on a game until it's almost ready to push out. Because the majority of consumers don't understand the development cycle for a video game. They don't know, like, there's heaps of games out there that have been, you know, pretty much dumpstered after years of work, and nobody hears about it. You know, millions of dollars will get sunk into a project, and then after a period of time, the studio just goes, yeah, we don't see this working out, so we're just gonna, you know, like, pretty much cut the project away completely. Paul and Picard, thank you very much for the sub. Yeah, like, after watching that answer the call,
60 more of those.
After watching like half of the answer the call, I pretty much stopped because I really couldn't handle listening to any more of it when really not a single, within an hour, none of them mentioned anything about tech debt or bloody systems that pretty much COG would have to go back over and rebuild or re-implement in ships. Like, the points about their marketing is spot on. I agree with that. with Morphologist's video here, it's like the napkin math, you know, the bloody clickbait of 35 years. It's pretty unreasonable to sit there and go, oh yeah, fucking, it's going to take him 35 years and expect people to actually believe that. Even with them saying like 23 years, no. I know it sounds like fucking I'm white knighting for CIG, but I can tell you now, the information is already on the YouTube channel for Star Citizen. Go watch their videos. Go back a couple of years. 2018 was probably one of the best years for content. There was so much information. Bloody, what was it? Around the verse would go for, you know, anywhere between half an hour to an hour, and it was just chock full of information. It was phenomenal. And then, buddy,
here's a question.
Like, what was that?
Do we think that CIG is going to bring Around the Verse back in the lead up to 4.0? Genuine question. I think who is it? Fucking Sandy hinted at it like a couple of months ago on Twitter or something.
No.
Might. Who knows?
Like, you know, now we're lucky if we get a bloody 10-minute video, and it's, you know, 10-minute video per week, and then the, what was it, live stream? Like, there's so much more information. Like, part of the problem that COG is looking at, and one of the reasons why backers are complaining so much, is one, we've got a lot of new backers that don't know a lot of this information already about Star Citizen's development process, things that they actually want to do with the ships, and the fact that it's not fucking ready yet. And, you know, CIG used to give reasons why. Even though the backers wouldn't listen, they'd still do it. If you go back though to those videos from years, well, a lot of it wasn't built yet. Wasn't built. You know, it's not like there's a fucking pre-made package for bloody, you know, spaceships in Lumberyard or bloody their Star Engine. When they first started, it was CryEngine. There wasn't any pre-packaged, you know, ships or assets there that they could fucking use. So they're building a lot of this shit from scratch. You know, the designers are sitting there going, okay, like, Chris, what do you want this thing to do? Cargo Refactor is a really good fucking example. I don't believe that there's going to be, you know, like a 23-year backlog and that we're not going to see some ships for 20, you know, something years. Like, there's certain ships that were sold, you know, close to a decade ago now that haven't even been worked on yet. That's true. There's other ships that, you know, we never even heard of that pretty much got released, you know, instantly the moment we hear about it, like the Cutter. Some of those ships, though, like the Banu Merchantman, which is a huge, you know, proponent for this backlash, there's a lot of, you know, custom shit there. You know, the design language still needs to be fleshed out. CIG is still working on some of the stuff there. You know, keep going back to it, but the Hammerhead and the bloody relay capacitor system that they're working on, that's also going to have to go on the Merchantman. And if it's not ready yet on the bloody Hammerhead, why would you want to finish off a ship and then have to go back over it almost immediately afterwards? You could literally stop production on it before you get to the point where everything's finished on the ship, except for the stuff that's missing because of bloody tech and systems that haven't been put in yet. You'd stop work on it, wait until that tech and systems gets done and, you know, greenlit for bloody implementation into the rest of the assets, then go back to it. That way you don't waste developer time, you don't waste developer dollars. Those developers can pause on that ship and go work on something smaller. And I know it's not fucking, you know, like, it's not what people want to hear, but that's the reality. Like, shit still hasn't been finished yet. Eisenbeer. Bear. Thank you for the sub, mate.
Yeah, we need about 60 more of those. Thank you for your sub. I'm sorry, that seemed very disingenuous. I'm sorry. You could sub if you want. Please, we want to make it to 8K by next week.
Mulman. If tech is the issue, why not make the Perseus over concepting a tech-dependent galaxy? Like, I literally just mentioned the Hammerhead and the tech that it's getting implemented, which would also be required for the Perseus and also for the Galaxy and the Polaris and the Merchantman and fucking the Odyssey. The bloody, Idris and the Javelin also require that bloody relay capacitor system. It's got to get put into all the larger ships. In fact, a lot of the ships that we have now are going to have to, CIG are going to have to go back over them and shove that shit in them too. All the bloody physicalization of components. CIG are going to have to go back over all the ships that we've got in game that don't have it yet and put that shit in. So the Caterpillar is another good example of that. Like, there is a lot of tech that is missing from ships that we have now that CIG is going to have to go back over. So you can't really sit there and go, well, like, if the Galaxy doesn't have, is waiting on tech, why not work on this other ship? Well, it's like, there's actually common tech that's missing from, a lot of ships. And until that gets built out, fucking, you're not going to see those ships get worked on. And I'm okay with that. Like, personally, I think it's a smart decision process from a production standpoint, because they're not creating extra work for themselves that they have to go back over and fix later. But yeah, like, what's the next video? The next video is actually something completely different. So I'll finish off on this for this one. CIG's poor communication is a reason for a large portion of the backlash from the backer base. When CIG started straying from doing tech dives and talking more about the systems and their design intent of what they're going to be bringing into Star Citizen on a regular basis, as opposed to regulating it to something that we maybe see once or twice a year, the backers start assuming that a lot of this stuff ends up being ready to go. Oh, they're like, they're selling this new thing, that must mean that it's almost ready. And that's not what it means at all. It just means that CIG has a plan and an intent to build something out, and they just aren't saying whether or not it's ready. And they only like to show you things that are close to being released, and then they just expect you to go look at their progress tracker, which doesn't actually fucking track progress. I don't care what anybody says, it doesn't track progress. Time is not a fucking indicator of progress when you don't have goals being completed. And I know why CIG doesn't, show that anymore as well, because they used to. Years ago, they did. They used to show, the percentage on how long it took for a task to be completed. And backers would start going batshit crazy when they noticed that a particular task from 1 week to the next would increase in tasks. So it was just easy for CIG to fucking stop talking about it. But they're shooting themselves in the foot by not actually owning up and talking about this stuff and being open, as they say that they are. We get a lot more information out of CIG than what we would out of most other developers. But it's nowhere near as what they used to be. And in my opinion, it's making it worse for themselves. But it is what it is. To sit there and expect, like, to be throwing out these numbers though, especially content creators who have been covering Star Citizen as long as they have, to be throwing out those numbers there, like I don't like that. I see it as disingenuous. Like, don't bother trying to predict how long those development pipelines are going to take, even with fucking napkin math, because it's not helping. It's not helpful. Like, yeah, people get upset and it's like, why? It's not going to get built faster. What are you trying to achieve? You're trying to, you know, like, tell CIG to stop selling concept ships? Stop funding the model? No. Well, then what are you trying to achieve by doing this? Make backers aware? Aware of what? That it's going to take a long time for some of their ships to get built out? No shit. A lot of the systems don't even exist yet, so no shit it's going to take time. It's going to take longer than people expect. That's the way that it is with software development. Like, to me, this just comes across as jumping on the next bloody, you know, like fucking bandwagon of, you know, fucking just trying to call CIG out on stuff that it's kind of par for the course when it comes to just development in general. Anyway, I think that's enough for this particular video. We bashed on it enough. And this isn't a, you know, hit piece against Morph. This is more about the topic. I'm not going to say that he did a balanced video, but, you know, it was a lot more informative. I don't like his napkin math, but that's just me. So, let's get ready for the next video. So the next one, it's gonna fuck up. I know it's gonna fuck up. Alright, the next one is this. I'll get you guys the link first.
Next one, yeah, we're gonna talk about drugs. Drugs.
Alright, so yeah, the next one is about drugs, or the new, currently a new way of making credits in the game. Or an old new method.
You like
I don't know how to.
You like drugs, Agens?
Drugs are bad, okay? Unless they're good.
It's not about the drug. It's about what the drugs mean, and the drugs mean money.
That's right. So links in the description, or if you're here and you just want to watch the video yourself without listening to me go on about it, you can go watch it by clicking on the link in the chat right now. But yeah, so this next video is about the resurgence in drug hauling, which apparently is a new thing. It's coming back.
Booming right now, guys. It's coming back. Here we go. Back. We're about to get high on information overload. It's crazy.
Now, this is not about real drugs. This is about a video game and, you know, something that you can do with it. This is by Bearded Oz. Molman, thank you very much for the sub. And we're actually going to get started on this straight away. It's a very short video.
Of us wait for 318 and the
cargo
really
refactor
in its initial stages. Trade has been a little bit dull. And sure, if you have a C2 or a large hauling ship in general, you can make a little bit of money around the verse, but eventually it all just gets a little bit humdrum. That may have changed with 3.17.4 with some minor changes or renewals of certain cargo commodities and the places you can buy and sell them. Citizens, my name's Beard of Oz. This is going to be a short one because we got to get the word out there. Drugs are back. Let's dive in. So as you may already know, I purchased myself the Drake Cutter. A great little vehicle, it holds 4 SCU of cargo. It's basically a little delivery van, and I decided that I would go around and explore some ways to make money with a very small amount of cargo space. My first stop was Jumptown. I knew that previously you could buy some drugs here and sell them in very small quantities to places like Grim Hex and CRUL5. CRUL4 as well, but I've never had much success. And so while doing that and making a decent amount of money, I was buying...
Yeah, so previous drug trade prior to this patch, small quantities was like literally, you know, up to 10 SCU, I think it was, for altricistoxin. Like max, and that's across all the servers. As opposed to what it used to be in the past, where it was just nearly limitless. Reclamation and Disposal Orange used to be a good destination to go to sell, was it ETAM and Neon? I'd actually buy a lot. But also the refresh rates were terrible. So, like, you're lucky if you're getting half an SCU refresh per tick. So even if you ended up pirating somebody that had a shit ton of drugs, normally you're just sitting there looking at all these boxes going, well, I can't even sell half of these. So, you know, pretty much got to store the ship at the location and just hope. Come back every few days and, you know, sell off like a couple of hundred, or if that, a few units of drugs at a time. So it's interesting that this is happening now.
Interesting.
Buying a whole bunch of slam and selling it, making about 16k profit, I came to realize that other locations also were selling those narcotics, and I was just able to sell them to all these breaker yards. And so as I went through it all, I eventually got to the point where the greed kicked in and I grabbed the Corsair, and that's where things took a bit of a change for the better. With 72 SCU of cargo space, don't worry, I'll be doing a video on the Corsair soon, keep an eye out for that one, I was able to gain more cargo and still sell them at reasonable levels at those breaker yards. The money was flowing in ways that I hadn't seen since the Invictus glitch. Not as good as that, but still quite nice. So my advice to you fellow traders who haven't yet caught on to this one, get in while the getting's good, because once the word has spread, it's going to be very hard to be able to sell to these locations without having to wait around for hours. Now, whether or not they'll keep all of this in the 3.18 update with cargo refactor, or they'll do a bit of tweaking again, I'm not too sure. They have announced that they're not going to be changing the values of anything, but even if we get a few more locations that were for a while dormant back up and running like these, we might see trade flourish a little bit more. Keep in mind though that the trade of these drugs is technically illegal, so if you get scanned by security, you might get yourself a fine, and running or fighting will obviously give you a crime stat. Be aware also that a lot of people will know that you are making money this way, and you might see extortion and just outright violence bump up just a wee bit. And there you have it, citizens. A nice little tip to you in case you haven't already heard. Drugs are back in. Start making money while you can.
That's depending on whether this goes through 3.18 and it's still a thing in 3.18, which, you know, that's really just up in the air. I mean, yeah, this is pretty cool. So for those that are into doing extortion on players, which we're not anymore, right, Agens?
What now?
Yeah, right now.
Extortion is still on the table now. We just choose
to
do it less. And yes, it is. If the Raider teams want to do it, they can. 3.18 it won't be. The main focus is on conducting boarding actions, though. So you can board a ship and then ransom it back to the owner. If they don't want to comply, then we just take it all. Like,
so you're saying boarding actions are still paramount?
Yes, boarding actions is still the main focus. But that doesn't mean that extortion is off the table.
It is. For me, it is.
But yeah, like, seems like Well, according to this guy, drugs are back on the table.
I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but I'm personally going to roll back to the cutter. I don't mind doing the 4 SCU, and it's kind of fun, just essentially rolling around in my slam van. So if you're also getting into the drug trade, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more, you know, little updates on money making like this and ship reviews. And of course, as always, stay safe in the verse, citizens, and I will catch you all next time.
Alright, well, that was a nice little quick video. The drug trade's back. For now. Until everybody hears about this and then floods the market and it dies again. Because that's normally the way that it works in this game when it comes to any trade. Like, has anybody in this chat been engaging in the drug trade? Have they noticed? Have you guys noticed yet? A dip in the market?
I've been too busy murdering people, Agens.
The market's already flooded. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Like, it's interesting that it's just happened in 317.4. But honestly, I'm quite surprised that it's just appeared all of a sudden. Maybe they did it for IE. Low stock and high price. Major exploit. What you on about, Referum? What exploit are you on about, mate? To do with the drug trade? That's alright. If you've reported it to CIG via an issue council report, then we all probably find it. Are you saying that it came with the Red Wind missions? Yeah, creative name. That's pretty par for the course for that's pretty par for the course for the drug trade. See, it's always interesting for us to hear about these I guess booms in the trading gameplay, because we, as pirates, would be looking to exploit that weakness or that opportunity, because a lot of people who are going to be doing the drug trade are normally trying to be sneaky, won't have escorts with them, and the locations that they're usually going to don't have armistice zones, so we can just engage straight away. So you need to become a discreet pilot for Red Wind. Well, I know one of the best ways of making credits at the moment is the combat security beacons. And then there's the ERT bounty missions, which are, people are showing up with the new Corsair and just melting ships. So it's like, a prediction of the Corsair being a fucking, space dad bounty hunting ship was pretty much bang on. I don't think they'll nerf the Corsair this time around. I think they put it in the position that they actually wanted it to be in. Yeah. Well, we've just hit the 2-hour mark, even though we started it half an hour late because I was still asleep at the original start time. It was a pretty light week, honestly. Like, I ended up jumping on YouTube, just looking for the latest videos on Star Citizen, and it was really hard to find content that wasn't about IAE. The whole bloody ship backlog was something that I did want to engage more in, which obviously I got the opportunity to. But yeah, the like just the last week. I've seen that video about a crew living on a Corsair. Is that the Skunkworks one? Skunkworks one?
Sorry.
You alright, Dobbs?
Sorry, I almost choked.
I haven't actually watched any of them yet. I've seen them in the recommendations, but I haven't started watching them yet.
What even is it? What are they talking about? Is it some like roleplay, them fucking living on a ship or some shit? What?
I don't know. It's like a crew living on a Corsair. That's all I know about it.
That sounds yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, like we've got IAE coming to an end pretty much in the next 24 hours, which also means a free fly finishes in the next 24 hours. But we've, after that, we were all kind of just hanging out for 318. There's some of us who, like are testing it now. I'm interested to hear what CIG's got in store for the rest of the year.
Server meshing.
They might talk about it.
No, they're not going to talk about a damn thing.
Like, I am interested.
Ibukati over the holiday break.
Is that Dobbs' prediction?
Yep, that's my prediction.
Like, I'm looking forward to when they put 318 to wave 1 into open PTU.
I'm not looking forward to it. I'm scared. I'm stressed, Agens.
I want to talk about what we've actually got or what we'll have by then. Because some of the stuff that we're testing now is without going into details, it's the usual Star Citizen, bugs by 10, but when things are working, it's pretty cool.
It's stressful.
The gameplay opportunities, if they get it stable, when they get it stable enough, will be huge. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. Luminalia is coming next week. So tiny boxes and sneak peek pics in our hangars too. Yeah, they'll fucking give us another picture of a fucking concept. And then people are going to get upset because they think that they're actually going to get the concept vehicle that they got a picture of, but it was just a picture. Goldbot 100, he posted an archive video on what CIG have said about modularity, and then you can judge if it's a worthy react. It's worth noting.
Five JPEG sales.
I'm actually kind of interested if they even bother with a concept ship for the end of the year, considering of how late IAE is in the year. They may just forego it. Paints. Oh god. What do you guys think of the bloody armor and weapon packages that they were selling?
Disgusting. Oh god.
Well, there's Dobbs' answer. What do you guys think of them?
Want an armor suit that has chainmail, agents.
Chainmail?
I don't fucking know. I'm just spitballing here. I want chainmail, perhaps more leather, fur. I want the fur from the what is it? The boreal fucking the space yeti on Microtech.
Oh, the boreal stalker.
Yeah. I want gameplay where I fucking find it, I shoot it in the face with a size 9 torpedo, and I go down there and I fucking skin it. Skin it, I take the fur, sell it.
Like, when I saw...
kind of like how the gameplay is in Red Dead Redemption, you know?
Yeah. And sell the furs. Yeah, when I saw the packages, I was like... I could understand people wanting to buy it, but at the same time, just like... This is fucking too basic. Like, it just doesn't look, fucking worth that much. Like $100 and it gets you all those different armor sets and all the different bloody, weapons all skinned that way. And it's like... some people have the money to be able to spend on that and they don't have the time, so, they're going to buy it. But... yeah, I look at that and I don't see the value. Especially as, Sorial's pointed out, you lose once, then you got to reset to get it back. Answer, it's black and red, thank you very much. Alright. Black and red. But, well, it is what CIG has hinted at though, like moving towards microtransactions and trying to, fund the project that way, which I'm okay with. I just wish they'd do more interesting things as opposed to just, going, hey, these, armors and weapons are now these colors. Like, I definitely, like, as Baron is pointing out, like, I want to find people who are wearing this stuff and I want to steal it from them. And then sell it off to someone else. What I'd do is I'd, find these people, take it from them, and then start auctioning it off in chat. On the same server. Well, give him time, Bozy. We've already got, what was it, bobbleheads, and if the last video that we just watched had the UE hologram flag on the dash of the cutter.
Yeah, so, ain't that something? Haha.
See, with the whole, like, microtransactions for armors and weapons and things like that, there is, value in being able to have gear that you can just start with straight away. Myself personally, I'm not bothered if I lose gear, because I know that I can get it back. Like, getting gear in the game is really easy. Like, Baron, I'm pretty sure we'll end up with, like, server meshing is really the key that'll make it all better. We just need that.
Server meshing? Huh?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, well, it's coming soon.
Soon? Yeah, soon TM, guys. Remember, persistent entity streaming is the last major hurdle before server meshing and Pyro, guys. Think about it. Big deal. 318, guys. It's here. And then in 2023, we may very well get server meshing. All of our computers will set on fire when we go through the jump gate the first time, especially those in Ivacati. Good God almighty, agents, are you ready for it?
Yes. 100% ready to go.
Like, do you have money saved up to buy yourself a brand new machine?
Yes, like, I have an emergency fund for an emergency PC for when my PC inevitably catches fire testing the first jump into Pyro.
Combustion.
I'll actually have it ready. It'll be sitting next to me.
Do you think we'll get 318 before the end of the year? That's funny. Look at that comment. Ain't that funny, agents? Oh my God. Let me tell you something. You do not want it right now. I'm just going to say that.
I don't think it'll be live by the end of the year. Maybe in Open PTU, or maybe even just Wave 1. COG does tend, though, to, like, rush the patch out before the holidays. So if they can crunch it out, they will try to. If they can get it to
especially by the end of the year. It's a common trend at the end of the year when they're like, you know what, guys? We've been working hard on this patch. It's not quite ready yet, but let's release it to the public so we can disappear for about 2 to 3 weeks before we can, and leave the players with a broken mess, so we can then come back and fix all the problems and get the ball rolling for the beginning of the year, going into the rest of the year, you know? It happened last year, it happened the year before, and by God, I'll say it, probably gonna happen again this year.
We'll just have to wait and see. But if we do get 318, it'll be like, if they're going to try and push it live for the end of the year, it'll be like a day or so before Christmas.
It needs to bake.
But if they don't push for live, then it'll more than likely be in PTU for Wave 1 or plus.
Agens, you cannot take it out of the oven yet. It needs more time to bake.
No, it's fine. TRG is just going to push forward anyway.
No.
Like, they've still got other patches, they've still got other tech to implement, and I'd rather them, like, you know, once it's stable enough and they're happy, just push it out and start moving on to the next patch. You know, progress, that's what we really want. Progress! Brings us closer to server meshing. There's no point in having, like, a single stable fucking, you know, alpha patch that's got, like, you know, half the shit there.
That's how I feel. Okay.
But,
all about server
what it is.
Oh my god. We love 317. Think about this. 317.
317.5 is coming soon.
317 is like, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's the last patch of Star Citizen as we know it, guys. Think about it. So you might want to cherish it while it's here.
As I said, I'm excited for 318. Even testing it out in the buggy ETF environment, I'm excited for it.
You see, I want you guys to recognize this. This man is the biggest wet blanket I've ever met in my life, and for him to say that he's excited speaks volumes about what's coming, guys. Think about it. It's real, truly, genuinely.
How long have we been going for? 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's a short one this week. That's okay. I think we'll call it there for the stream. No, you don't get it for free when you go to Evo. You have to sacrifice part of your soul.
Yeah. Get your butt in the issue council. It's your Legends training.
But yeah, as I was saying before, guys, I'm going to call it for the end of the stream there. Thank you very much for watching and for coming along for this particular stream. I'm going to be trying something a little bit different with the, I guess, the video release. Pretty much what I'm going to look at doing is actually releasing the segments as separate videos. But it may be a day or so before that actually happens. So the live stream will still be up for you guys to rewatch. But then there'll be a, I guess, a cut down version or a more, you know, apportioned version. I don't know what to call it.
It's going to flood and pollute the beautifully aesthetically pleasing library of Piracy Ops videos that we have right now. So honestly, go to the channel, take a screenshot of the beautiful Piracy Ops library under the videos tab, and just take a look at how good it is and how amazing it looks before it gets polluted by all of the cut down stream content.
Yes. I don't think we've got a video ready for this week. We'll have one. We've got a huge backlog.
You've not assigned anything to me, not definitively.
Yes, I did.
I don't think you did.
Yeah, I did. But the Corsair hits.
Well, I thought that was more of an inkling rather than an actual assignment.
No. Hopefully this week it'll be hits on bloody Corsairs. If not, then you know Dobbs is fine.
I'm technically not under contract, so I don't need to do it for you.
You're still under the current one. The new one doesn't come in effect yet.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So thanks for coming along for the stream. Not sure yet if we're going to be streaming at the same time next week, but looking at more than likely based on my current schedules. I'm still working on getting the guests together for December's episode of the Mongrel Court, which will be around, we'll look at the dates for it. It's this month. around the 17th of December. That's when I'm aiming for the next Mongrel Court. Haven't locked down the exact title of the discussion yet, but it's going to involve industrialists. So you may recognize some of the faces that show up. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming along, Eduardo. I actually have already been on an info runner video. It was actually a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. I'm just going to call it now because I'm just rambling. Catch us next week.